Democratic lawmakers, thankfully, are fleeing their state. They will not be working for you in that state. They cannot work for you. And by not being in that state, they are in fact saving your state. I will explain. Here it is.
At least 51 Texas House Democrats left their home state last night, came to this lovely Illinois town in order to block a Republican-written congressional map that was set to pass the state house later today. The Republican governor, Greg Abbott, is threatening to expel these legislators for not showing up for work if they don't today. The Republican attorney general is threatening to arrest them. They could face big fines, but so far, these Democrats are defiant.
We are here to fight for the millions of Texans who don't want Trump's Texas takeover.
Dozens of Texas House Democrats are now in the Chicago suburbs, leaving their state behind and disrupting plans to vote on a new Republican-drawn map to reshape congressional power in the Lone Star State.
We're not here to play political games. We're here to demand an end to this corrupt process.
President Trump has directed Texas Republicans redraw their map.
On Texas, how many more seats do you want the Republicans to draw?
5.
In hopes of avoiding the losses that usually happen to a president's party in midterm elections.
Donald Trump has pulled the coward's cards in Texas. The Republicans are feckless. They have no backbone. They have no integrity. They are not there to represent you in Texas. They are there to represent Donald Trump's agenda. Trump knows he's going to get slaughtered in the midterms, or at least he believes so. So he has openly called for states like Texas to intentionally break the law, manipulate the boundaries of population so that voters no longer select the politician, but the politician now selects the voters. That's what's happening. Put it up for a mass. This is how you become an effective minority. You do things completely out of the box, even if it means leaving your state. Not the first time they've done it. Democratic members of the Texas House of Representatives left the state on Sunday in a last-ditch attempt to stop Republicans from adopting a Donald Trump redrawn congressional map that artificially inflates Republican representation. Their absence is expected to prevent the House from holding the vote. Now, they are able to accomplish this because the current rules require you have a quorum. It's like any other board. If you don't have the prerequisite board members present, you can't take official business. And that is their remedy. It is an allowable remedy, by the way. Now, the walkout, as they're calling it, was a sharp escalation in the bitter partisan clash over a mid-decade redistricting in Texas that was requested by Trump himself. Republicans in the state legislature were rapidly moving forward with the map, drawn to flip 5 Democratic congressional districts to favor Republicans, being passed out of 2 committees over the weekend. Now, that simply means they've drawn these districts like spider webs, okay? Population lines make no damn sense. And the individuals who would actually benefit from fair and proper localized representation of a congressional member will no longer have that benefit because Donald Trump said so. This is not a democracy. This is not pro-Constitution. This is not Christ-like. This is not ethical. This is not moral. Where in the doctrine of their religious belief, political doctrine, or at least common sense, does this stand? Well, Republicans aren't talking. They're just breaking the law. Hours after the Democrats departed, Governor Greg Abbott responded with a further escalation, not because he cares about the people of Texas, but because he's scared of Trump, declaring that their walkout amounted to, quote, an abandonment of forfeiture of an elected state office This is not the first time they've walked out there, brother. You didn't say all that jazz then. Oh, that's because Trump didn't tell you. Okay. If they do not show up for a scheduled floor debate, it's laughable. On the maps on Monday, Abbott said, he will invoke a legal opinion by the equally corrupt Texas Attorney General and take steps to, quote, remove the missing Democrats from membership of the Texas House. That move would be challenged by court, and I do believe they will win. I need you to understand what this governor is saying. This governor is telling you that he is in a conspiracy with the Attorney General. And if the Democratic lawmakers miss one damn debate, this isn't even a vote, ladies and gentlemen. It's a floor debate. If they miss a floor debate, which they are not required to be at, even if they were in the state, he is going to utilize a particular executive clause that allows for an opinion of the Attorney General to declare an elected official to basically be in forfeit of their political obligation, which means they are removed and not counted toward the quorum vote, or they can appoint in a special session. They got a whole lot of room here if that actually works. But understand the level of manipulation they're willing to go through and the laws they would choose to break. And while the emphasis is on the politician that they may remove or may not, the actual the substance of this silences the millions of people that are represented by these lawmakers. Even before Abbott's threat, the ultimate outcome for Texas Democrats was far from certain. The walkout could delay action in the legislature for several weeks or more, but comparable past attempts to block Republican legislation and redistricting in Texas eventually failed. Most of the Democratic lawmakers who took part headed to Chicago shortly after 5 p.m. Central Time. Governor J.B. Pritzker of Illinois said has been weighing whether his state will respond to the move in Texas by redrawing its own congressional maps in the Democrats' favor. The Texas Democrats who flew to Chicago stood with the governor during a news conference late Sunday at a local Democratic Party office near the city. Quote, this is not just rigging the system in Texas, the governor said of the Republican efforts. It's about rigging the system against the rights of all Americans for years to come. Quote, a smaller group of Texas Democrats was going to New York where they were expected to meet with the governor on Monday. She has also been looking for ways that a state could respond to the Republican move. Yeah. What are we saying? I get the knee-jerk reaction, and to be quite honest with you, I wouldn't make too much hay if you did. A handful of Democratic lawmakers were coming from Texas to Boston for a meeting at the National Conference of State Legislatures. This week, I have a good friend of mine who's there, Senator Don Balfour, who happens to be a white male Republican. I talked to him today. Texas Republican lawmakers could try to compel Democratic members to return by issuing arrest warrants for violating the rule of the Texas House, as they did during a previous walkout by withholding pay from the members and withholding pay from their staff members as well, putting countless families on the brink of poverty. The Speaker of the House, Dustin Burrows, a Republican, said in a statement that, quote, all options will be on the table. if not enough members are present when the House meets on Monday at 3 p.m. Ken Paxton, the Attorney General, said on X, oh, it's official now, it's on X, that the Democrats, quote, who try and run away like cowards should be found, arrested, and brought back to the Capitol immediately. He has promised to work with state and federal authorities to bring back absent members. In addition to threatening their removal, Abbott said that the absent Democrats, we're talking about one vote, the absent Democrats may also have committed felonies if they accepted money to pay any potential fines they would face under House rules. Before I go to Jasmine Crockett and what she had to say, I need you to really let this sink in. They will work with federal authorities to have elected representatives arrested due to the fact that they're utilizing illegally, potentially a law that allows for such insanity to happen in the first place. The genesis of this is about not being politically active for the position that you serve. They are literally being politically active for the position that they serve. Why? Because it is allowable under the rules to not show up. Here's what our dear sister had to say.
Ken Paxton is MAGA through and through. We're talking about someone who had been under felony indictment in the state of Texas for almost a decade. In fact, he was indicted before the felon in the White House was indicted. We're talking about someone who had been under federal investigation. We're talking about someone who was impeached by his own party and then was not convicted as his wife sat in the jury on the Senate side. And now she has said, I want to divorce you. And she's stating that it's biblical reasons, and I guess it had nothing to do with that fake Uber account that he had when he was going to see his mistress that was a part of his impeachment trial. Let me tell you, there is drama on top of drama, and there definitely are no family values whatsoever to be found. And now we know that this same attorney general has decided that he wants to threaten these lawmakers because they are the real criminals in the state of Texas, not the guy who should be behind bars, but the lawmakers who have decided that in a majority-minority state, they should have districts that are reflective of the people so that they can actually be in alignment with our Constitution.
Now, because of one human being, Donald Trump, he's just a man, and he happens to barely be that. Because of one person and his agenda, an entire state, entire families, entire regions are already adversely impacted by this. Democrats in other states, good, decent, elected officials, governors, are saying we are now looking at ways to balance what Texas is doing by doing it ourselves. What that means, I need you to hear yourself. What that means is you're willing to match the corruption. I'm not moralizing because I get it. But if you do it, there's no good guy. It's not sustainable. How far are you willing to go? Are you willing to have your attorney general arrest Republicans? How far are you willing to go? Because, see, they'll go all the way. That's their game. That's their game. It's not ours. We are fair. We choose equitable principles. So just think about what you're saying. because there are so many people who disagree with the heavy-handedness of these individuals that if you start mimicking the heavy-handedness of them, you can't blame them for staying down with the devil they know than the devil they don't. In other voting-related news, the requests have come in letters, emails, phone calls. The specifics vary, but the target is consistent. The U.S. Department of Justice is ramping up effort to get voter data and other election information from the states. Over the past 3 months, the department's voting section has requested copies of voter registration lists from state election administrators in at least 19 states, according to an Associated Press tally. Of those, 9 are Democrats, 5 are Republicans, and 1 is a bipartisan commission. There is nothing inherently wrong with the Justice Department requesting the information on state procedures or the states providing it, said Justin Levitt, former Deputy Assistant Attorney General who teaches at Loyola Law School. But the department's request for voter registration data are more problematic, he said. That is because of the Privacy Act of 1974, which put strict guidelines on data collection by the federal government. The government is required to issue a notice to the Federal Register and notify appropriate congressional committees when it seeks personally identifiable information about individuals. Becker said there is nothing in the federal law that compels states to comply with requests for sensitive personal data about their residents. He added that while the outreach about information sharing agreements was largely innocuous, the involvement of a criminal attorney could be seen as intimidating. That means when they don't follow the rules, you have to enforce them by litigation. Litigate the act. Get them on the record. Don't let them do it behind the scenes. All right, Senator, thoughts?
And Doc, you hit all the nails on the head. You know, absolute power corrupts absolutely. Not my quote, somebody else's, but it is a timeless quote. And your major point about politically, the political gamesmanship, the political person in me understands, but the pro-democracy side of me does not accept. You are absolutely right. Just because Governor Pritzker is willing to meet the Republicans with like kind of power grab does not make this right. And there will be no end if we don't come to an agreement as a representative democracy, a republic, that any of the politicians that use that gerrymander, that you are wrong. I'm old enough to remember being in the Ohio Senate when after the 2010, the census, and going into 2011, being able to vote on maps of which I voted no. And I caught flack from Democrats. And the reason why I voted no on those maps is because it allowed, as you did in your opening, for politicians to pick their constituents and not the other way around. That's number one. And number two, the Democrats were going to settle for 4 seats that would always be guaranteed to Democrats, while Republicans enjoyed the lion's share of the congressional seats in my state, where when you compare the congressional lines as they were drawn and the voting patterns of Ohioans, it didn't add up, Doc. So I, on principle, even though it guaranteed Democrats 4 seats, said, no, I am not voting for this. So now we're gonna have a problem. So Governor Kathy Hochul wants to do the same thing. This is never going to end. Both parties play games with the lines. The difference is President Donald J. Trump and his neo-fascism is bold enough to say it on the record. Every American should be outraged, no matter how they identify politically, because this will not end well for the people of this country. It only benefits those who are already in power or those who are seeking power. So at some point, America, we got to come together on this and say that we don't want the politicians to be in control in this way. We want our vote to determine who puts us in office. But Doc, hopefully the Democrats will get a clue. Because President Donald J. Trump, it's the difference, stabbing in the chest versus stabbing in the back.
Yeah.
Or as Minister Malcolm X said, the difference between the fox and the wolf when he was describing the South from the North.
That's right.
I want our viewers to understand that there really is no difference for the most part. There may be little contours here and there, Doc, I'll grant. But Democrats have done the same thing. They just didn't do it in our face.
That's right.
It's wrong.
And it's wrong, period. And that's
This is wrong.
The expression of that. So true colors will shine, obviously. And ultimately, they want you to think that they have the power.
Yeah,
but they don't.
I know we got to go to commercial. I just want to put one. I just want to put up one other point because I want Democrats to think about how during this 2024 election cycle, how people like Marianne Williamson and Dr. Cornel West and Congressman Dean Phillips were deliberately kept off the ballot in some states,
right?
Not by the hands of Republicans, but by the hands of Democrats. So I'm just giving examples, Doc, of how both of these corporate institutions that control our electoral process play games. They play in our face. And that's why, while a part of me understands meeting like kind energy with like kind, there's another side of me that says for the American people, we are in a sad state of affairs because we are not represented by either one of these parties.
And that is what's being exposed. You thought you had a democracy? Well, that's a sham. You have an electoral college. You thought you had an election? No, you have a lack of a selection. That's why it's called an election. You do not get to select. You have to elect. Well, that means that the selecting has been done for you. That's a sham too.
Come on.
Two-party system. Name another industrialized nation that has a two-party system. You won't find it. It doesn't exist because the people wouldn't fall for that. All right? Okay, we'll bring you updates, guaranteed to be significant updates in that story.